So let's look at everything surrounding the rehab process, because this is something which we really excel at, but so many times we almost lose players along the way because they get seduced into the other side, okay? So if we've got here day 0, injury day, and here we've got game day of your first game back. Now we've got these tracks going down the middle. So we've got 3 different tracks. The first one is the actual injury, okay? So for the sake of what we're going to talk about today, we're going to call it a stress fracture. The other 2 lines, the first one is the body, so what's happening with the body, and the other one's the action. The issue we have so many times is everything just gets pointed towards the injury. So say you've had a stress reaction, a stress fracture, the team you're working with or someone will just say rest for 3 months. And the issue is, I wouldn't have that much of a problem with that if they spent that 3 months diving into why this happened. Because a stress fracture of the spine doesn't just happen. The skeleton's an unbelievable bit of kit. You know, it's pretty good at what it does. So if you're 13, 14, 15, and you're on your second stress fracture of your spine, if you're L2, 3, 4, 5, we've got to be really asking why? Why is this happening? It shouldn't happen, especially at a young age. Now we've got a developing skeleton, we know that. The bones aren't as hard, but we still see the stress fractures all the way up. You know, we see it in 30 pluses as well. So why is this happening? Not just it's happened, so let's rest. Let's let the bone knit, and then we'll just start again. Because nothing's going to change. The bone's knitted again. Is it as strong? We don't know, possibly not. But if the things which went into your action, which led to the injury, haven't changed, what's going to change? Nothing, okay? You're just going to have 3 months of deconditioning. And then when you start the process of training again, no one's deep diving, no one's finding out what's going on at the body. All that's happening is you've got a paint by numbers rehab process, which says we're doing strength, we're doing hypertrophy, we're doing power, and then we're going to be bowling, something like that, or just strength, and then you're back into walkthroughs. Whereas if we've got the injury day 0, now what should be happening? So one of our players, you get assessed every month, where you should be doing your movement assessment. So we've got a whole bank of testing so that if there is an injury occur, we can go back and say, right, is there anything which we can see which has happened with the body not working, which we then see an injury? Or videos, you know, we're seeing as the action started to change, then we mirror the action with anything that might have changed on the movement screen so that we see the correlations. But we don't see it. So what we do is we need to work on the body. That's why we movement assess the rest of the body. We know you've got an injury at the back, what's going on at the ankles, knees, hips, thoracic, scapula, your basic stability, all these type of things. So it's not just a case of let's rest for 3 months. Obviously we're letting the back rest, we're not going to be loading through it, but what can we do around it? What can we do to actually make the muscle and the brain connection again, the neuromuscular type things? We need to be focused on this, as well as understanding the action. And then we put these 2 together. What was going wrong with the body, which was causing the action to look like it does, that then caused the injury? And they're all linked, but most of the time it's just rest, 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 and then back to the same training which you did before, which is crazy. It's absolutely crazy. So we have to put all 3 together and think, right, if someone's, you've had a physio or a doctor say, right, you cannot do anything for 3 months on the injury, those 3 months have got to be spent really well, understanding your action, understanding the rest of the body, so that when we get the green light, maybe around here, to start training again, we don't then have to go back to the start and integrate the body, because the body's already there. We've got the hip mobility we need, we've got the dorsiflexion we need, we've started to work on some co-contraction, the fascial system, having that working so that when we get there, everything is ready to go in the same direction. And then we can work back towards the bowling. So then we get into the more of the really specific stuff. Might be the pre-bowl prep, the stiffness prep. Everything then can be focused towards, rather than getting there and then having to start there, then start. So everything gets pushed back. We want to, when the actual injury is healed, if it is a bone injury, that the rest of the body is ready to go. So at any time, if you get told just to rest, think, right, what else can we be doing? Okay, and this is the key thing. But this is also the key when you're good, why we assess, so we've got those markers. We understand where you are, what you need, so that if there is an injury, we can go back and say, right, so we need to get your back foot contact at 0.26 of a second on each one on a 10 pogo. You know, if you're someone who comes to the unit, you know, we know that detail. Or if you're not, if you're remote, we know we need to get your hip internal rotation at least at 35 degrees each side. We need to get the thoracic at least at 65 degrees each side. We need to get your adequate, your jumping back up to where it was, so that we know we're hitting the markers so that we can progress. Otherwise, it's just rest, the same training as you did before, then we're stuck in the same cycle as you're back playing, and you might be okay for a bit, but then there's going to be other injuries come in. And this sort of, the normal process of just resting and then doing the same stuff, is the exact reason why the number one predictor of injury is previous injury. Because nothing's happening, we're not diving deep enough to understand why the injury happened, how the rest of the body was letting it down. So it could be the shoulder. You know, what we're seeing at the moment is when people are coming in, we're doing the ASH test, isolating the shoulder, they're getting good scores. When we're putting them in with the rest of the body stood, not getting as good scores. So the shoulder's working well, but it's doing too much. The chain's not working with it. So then if it gets to the stage where that shoulder then breaks, everyone will go to the shoulder and say, you've got to get that stronger. No. The shoulder was fine, it's just having to do too much work. The same a lot of time with the hammy. You know, a lot of the time the hammies are good, but they do so much work and we're just in anterior tilt and all these things going on, we're imbalances, then that goes. But we're too simplistic and reductionist to say that's where we need to go. No, let's get the body right as a whole system and a holistic approach, and then when we're ready, we'll get you back bowling so you don't have these injuries happen again.